We can say goodbye to Alan Lichtman now, right? For those of you unfamiliar, Lichtman came up with the 13 keys to the White House. He claims that he has accurately predicted the last 10 elections, which is false and is actually a lie, but he needs to maintain that perfect record for relevance and to keep being asked to go on these media programs. Well, it is no surprise. We all know by now Alan Lichtman was wrong. He predicted Kamala Harris would win. And not only did he predict it, he doubled down on it time and time again. He went on multiple news networks. He held live streams here on YouTube. He went to the New York Times. So now, I've been pointing out for a while that he has been inconsistent with his methodologies, with his definitions, with even what he's written previously in his own books. There is no consistency here. I don't know whether it's intentional intellectual dishonesty or if it's just a severe case of Trump derangement syndrome. But you would think that someone who graduated from Harvard would, after their model was proven wrong, would try to figure out, hey, is there a way I can improve this? What can I fix for next time? Was it something that I did? Was it my interpretation? You would think he would reflect. But no, he's not doing that. He's instead going on news networks right now and insulting you and me. He's saying that you and I are the reason that the keys don't work. The keys are fine, but we're just not reasonable people. You see, the keys are supposed to work with a pragmatic, with a reasonable society, and we're just past that. So the issue isn't with the keys, the issue is with the voters. Here's what he said on CNN.
Depend upon a rational, pragmatic electorate deciding based on governance whether the incumbent party should get 4 more years. And we've seen the explosion of some trends that have existed before, but not to this extent. Disinformation. Elon Musk is, I don't know how many hundreds of billions he has. He has been the director of misinformation, 2 billion views of his spreading of disinformation, not just about the economy, but about immigrants, about minorities. We've never seen disinformation at this scale. Next, we have never seen to this scale the agitation of 3 trends that have been very deeply embedded in American history: misogyny, racism, and xenophobia.
Again, he couldn't admit that maybe his interpretation of the keys were wrong. Maybe Kamala Harris was just a uniquely bad and a uniquely flawed candidate. Instead, he had to insult all of us. It's our fault. It's the voters' fault. There was nothing wrong with his keys, just absolutely ridiculous. And then also, did you notice how he started insulting Elon Musk? By the way, Elon hasn't been pushing or publishing mis or disinformation. What he did was he bought Twitter and he opened the public square yet again for every voice to be heard. And Alan, if you don't like the voices being heard, then you put your own voice out there. You actually should provide a counter argument, but the leftists don't like that. Instead, what did the extreme leftists do? They all left Twitter. They all boycotted Twitter because they were upset that a dissenting or opposing viewpoint would be allowed on the platform. That's what happened. A lot of people are like, well, why aren't there more Democrat voices on Twitter? And by the way, there are plenty. But the crybabies, they all went away because they weren't used to having to deal with dissenting and opposing viewpoints. But you know what? It wasn't just that one clip. He's been saying this over and over again since the election. Here is from his live stream yesterday. He blamed his keys being wrong on racism and sexism. It wasn't even just Trump.
Do you think the issue is that Trump is beyond the keys and Trump changed the locks?
I think that's a little too glib. It's not just Trump. Trump blipped out tomorrow, nothing much would change. It's the deeper forces that I outlined of deception, racism, misogyny, and xenophobia, which are by no means limited to Trump.
By the way, if these are deep-rooted issues, if these are issues that the country has been facing for a long time, as he's implying, as he implied on CNN, then shouldn't the keys have also been wrong in all those previous elections? He's claiming that racism and misogyny, sexism, misinformation, deception aren't new things. So why did his keys work in the past and not now? I mean, I don't have a degree from Harvard, but that seems like a reasonable question to ask. And like I said, he didn't just say it once. He said it again and again and again.
To a new level. He's also brought blatant racism to a new level. Things like, I'm as Greek as Giannis Antetokounmpo, the black Milwaukee Bucks basketball star who was born in Athens of African parents, is a Greek citizen and was the Greek flag bearer at the Paris Olympics. But because he's black, he couldn't possibly be really Greek. I remember.
So yesterday I published a video about Rachel Maddow, and a lot of people were upset that I covered it, but I want to cover what both sides are talking about, and it is very clear that the left is preparing to become the new election deniers, because Rachel Maddow is saying, there's really something weird about this election. And during his live stream yesterday with his son, Alan Lichtman did the same thing. Kitty, you're about to make a cameo. And he did the exact same thing with his son. And what he did was he said there were many mysteries in this election. And so, again, he's blaming the population for the keys being wrong. It's not the keys. And now he's suggesting that maybe the keys weren't wrong. Maybe there was foul play. Maybe there was election interference either by Donald Trump or the Russians. And that's why the keys were wrong. Take a look at this.
Harris ended up with 13 million less votes than Biden did in 2020. That was a 19% decrease, the largest decrease in votes between candidates of the same party, excluding obviously when there's a third party with greater than 5% of the vote, since 1967. That was Ford, who lost 8 million votes from.
You mean 1976?
That's what I meant. 1976, who lost 8 million votes compared to Nixon in 1972, which was.
But Nixon won in a landslide, don't
Right.
forget. Whereas comparing the last two elections are two close elections.
Sure.
Votes should have been about the same.
Right, and that was a 20% decrease in voting. Yeah.
Let's cut to the chase, Sam. You did great research on this.
Yeah.
The chase is there was an enormous fall off,
Right.
close to 20% of the Biden vote in 2020 as compared to the Harris vote in 2024. And there is no modern day historical precedent for that. And that
Was
is
there
an
a fall
enormous
off?
mystery
Or was there
of
a
this
spike?
election, and has led a number of people who've written to me saying there must have been some shenanigans with the voting technology, and they've even, and I don't understand it, and I'm not endorsing it, even come up with technical explanations about how it wouldn't be that difficult for the Trump campaign or the Russians to do it. I'm not endorsing any of that. I'm not a technician. I have no idea.
But
But
let
I
me
am
put it out
endorsing
there.
Sam's research. That's something strange, unprecedented in terms of the fall off in voting.
Seattle Susie Q says, remember Trump talking about a secret? Remember how he kept telling his supporters that he, quote, didn't need their votes? Yeah, that was a weird. I know Rachel Maddow did a big piece about that.
Very weird. Look, as I said, I've had all kinds of communications claiming that there were ways of rigging the vote. I'm not buying into that. I'm not advocating that. I don't have the skills to evaluate it. I'm not going to buy into conspiracy theories, but it's certainly out there among smart people.
Right.
I'm not
I just think
promoting
there's
it,
a lot
but
of
let me
question marks that-
let me
I
put
mean,
it out
we
there
may
for
never
you
have
to chew
answers
on.
to, but they're just giant question marks out there about this election that just kind of make me keep going like, huh? What? You know what I mean? I don't
Huge
know.
question marks. This election does not make sense.
And people
Maybe there's a
respond.
logical explanation. Maybe there isn't.
Right. And people respond to that saying, oh, you're too in your liberal bubble. No, the numbers just don't make sense.
The numbers don't make sense. Maybe, you know what? Again, you graduated from Harvard. You should be able to dissect and analyze and question this from all sides. But maybe, like I said, the issue, the mystery isn't actually the fall off. Maybe the issue and the mystery is the spike in votes in 2020. Just a thought. Just a thought. So apparently the keys no longer work. His words. Not exactly, I'm paraphrasing, but they don't work because it's supposed to be among a pragmatic and an intelligent and, quite frankly, just a good population. So the keys no longer work. Well, if they no longer work, and if he's not willing to do any retrospective analysis or reflection, I think we should bury the keys once and for all. Just saying. So let's do it. Let's do it together. The world has changed. I've see it in the water. I feel it in the earth. Much that once was is lost, for none now live who remember it. 13 keys were made. 3 were given to matters of foreign affairs. Others to matters of economy, security, incumbency. But they were all of them deceived. For another toupee was made, and with it came ego, anger, and GGS. And so, as prophecy foretold by State of Daniel, Trump won the great battle of our time. And the toupee, well, it went away. Yep. Thank you for indulging me in that silliness. Here, by the way, is the exact moment from election night, in case you haven't seen it. This is when Alan Lichtman realized that he was wrong.
Still, 1 million votes left in Pennsylvania, close to it.
I think she lost.
Running out of Pennsylvania, yep. It's not changing.
I hate to say that because I've been hopeful all night, but I think she lost.
I do too. I think it's 90% over.
Yeah, hurts to be him. A lot of people, I'm sure, especially if you're new to the channel, you're wondering why I take such issue with this. It is because not only can you go back and track his discrepancies and the hypocrisy and how he has flip-flopped on definitions, methodologies, and just how he conducts his model, which I'll get to here in a second. But he actually referred to me and others as, quote, wannabe unknown journalists on national television. And as I explained in a previous video, I have very good reason to believe that he was talking about me. Referring to me specifically, or at least grouping me in with other wannabe unknown journalists. So yeah, I do have a bone to pick here.
You predicted Donald Trump would win the popular vote victory, which he didn't actually, but he did, of course, win the
I've got to
electoral
stop you
college.
right there because stop, or I'm going to stop this interview. You are spreading misinformation. And, there has been this concerted campaign against me that started, by a couple of wannabe unknown journalists claiming I didn't predict Donald Trump's victory. That is an outright lie. I clearly, in my September 23rd Washington Post interview, said nothing about the popular vote. Said Donald Trump was headed for a win, that in fact, I predict any generic Republican would win this election based on the keys against the White House party. And I predicted at the time that Donald Trump would be impeached.
Well, Mr. Lichtman, I have a message for you. This wannabe unknown journalist accurately predicted and called every single state in this election. By the way, I made this prediction 4 months ago. 4 more years. Right now, if I had to be in someone's shoes, I would much rather be in Trump's shoes. If the election were held today, again, it would be a landslide, 312 to 226. Again, this is according to the numbers. I know I've said again like 1,000 times in a row, but I guess I'm just trying to make the point that, oh, by the way, did I mention, I know I did it in a previous video, but I don't think I did in this one. He said that Joe Biden was the Democrats' only chance of winning this election against Donald Trump. He said that not once, but multiple times. I believe, if I recall correctly, in this next clip, I've pulled together 4 different clips that I've shown in previous videos here. I mean, he said that. And then after saying that, oh, the Democrats can't win without Joe Biden, all of a sudden he said, well, no, the keys favor Kamala Harris. Kamala's going to win. Here is a look at Alan Lichtman's past words.
All of these pundits and pollsters and analysts that you see on all the cable channels and all the networks have no track record in predicting elections. And yet they come on and they claim they know how this debate is going to affect the outcome of elections. They have no idea. It's sports talk radio. It may be entertaining, but it has no scientific basis.
So what is the impact, do you think?
Zero. That's why we rely on the 13 keys, which tap into the structure of how elections really work. And they show that Democrats' really only chance to win, contrary to everything you've heard, is with Biden running.
Well, I have a system for predicting elections, as you know, the 13 keys to the White House, that has been right since 1984. I've got a 40-year track record. All the polls you show. And I know you guys have to put on a show every day, but the truth is polls a year and a half or more before an election have zero predictive value. They're fun, but they're like sports talk radio. They don't mean anything in the end. But having Biden run gives the Democrats their best chance to win because he secures 2 of my 13 keys. The incumbency key, sitting president running, it won't be an open seat, which is very bad for the party in power, as we learned in 2008 for the Republicans and 2016 for the Democrats. And if he didn't run, you lose the incumbency key. There is no question that the Democrats' best bet to win is exactly what Biden is doing right now.
You know, so many Democrats are saying, oh my God, Biden's too old. We need someone else. That's a recipe for losing the election.
Apparently I didn't include the clip, but there is one clip out there where he says specifically that Biden is their only chance to win. Now, yesterday he did a live stream with his son last night, and they were supposed to dissect the keys, trying to dissect what went wrong. Now, number one, that's the point of science. You look at your methodologies, you know, you have a hypothesis, right? And you conduct your experiments and you draw a conclusion. And then, you know, you try to repeat that process again and again and again. And anytime there's a discrepancy, anytime something's wrong, you adjust and you move forward. But he's not doing any of that. I was actually looking forward to the live stream last night because I thought that there would be some introspection, but there wasn't any. Instead, it was just all name calling. He was a sore loser in all of this. And yes, of course, like the rest of the Democrats, he kept warning about Trump as a dictator. And the TDS, the Trump derangement syndrome, is really showing.
The first thing that dictators do to cement their power is not, you know, whip and beat up and kill people. It's controlling information and knowledge. When Hitler came in, what was the first thing he did, Sam? What did he burn?
Books.
Burn the books. When Stalin came in, he had everyone who owned a typewriter register the typewriter with the government so the government would make sure they weren't, you know, typing anything in contradiction to the party line.
Seattle Susie Q says, remember Trump
yeah, so we got to that second half earlier. But where has Trump actually done this? We've already lived through a Trump term. He didn't ban books. He didn't attack the media. I mean, he got into fights with them verbally, but he never, like, shut down a news organization. He never suppressed free speech. It's been the Biden-Harris administration that did that. We now know, thanks to emails, that the Biden-Harris administration coordinated with Twitter, Meta, Facebook, whatever it's called, to censor what they deemed mis and disinformation, which, by the way, often turned out to be right. I guarantee you they probably worked with someone here on YouTube. It's just a matter of time until that's exposed. I mean, the censorship, quite literally, is only coming from the left, and yet that's what they want to talk about. Then, after that, he started ranting about billionaires, started ranting about Elon Musk, you know, as if there aren't billionaires, the entire ruling class, the entire elite class. I mean, Oprah, Taylor Swift, all the celebrities, literally every mainstream news organization. I mean, and then all he wants to do is talk about Elon Musk on Trump's side. Get a grip on reality, dude.
How can you fall for that?
2 billion people following the disinformation of Elon Musk. You know, when I was a kid, I voraciously read science fiction stories. And there were some stories about this kind of brave new world where a handful of super rich people controlled everything and all the ordinary people were just puppets. We're heading in that direction.
Right.
We're not anywhere near that, but, you know, we're at least inching towards that.
Right. I don't understand this populist working class appeal that Trump has, because just look at the people that the powerful people that he's surrounding around him. He's surrounding with himself Kennedy, RFK Jr., who's part of a American political elite family, Elon
And
Musk, who's a South
multi-billionaire.
right, Elon Musk, who's a South African billionaire, and Vivek Ramaswamy, who's a billionaire. Like, I don't get how these guys who are billionaires are somehow connecting with the working class. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
And there are many more. Peter Thiel, Harlan Crow. I don't know who the big oil magnates are by name, but he said, give me money, I'll let you do whatever you want.
Yeah, I just don't get it how your average American is looking at these figures and being like, yes, this billionaire is gonna represent me. I just can't wrap my mind around it.
That just shows how out of touch they are. Because there are two types of billionaires. On the left, you have Oprah Winfrey, Taylor Swift, and all the others who try to lecture the rest of us about why they're right and we're wrong. They try to lecture the rest of us about how we should live, about how we should reduce our carbon footprint. Meanwhile, they live in mansions, fly on their private jets. I mean, cause more pollution than any of us will cause in a lifetime. Meanwhile, the billionaires on Trump's side, the reason we connect with them is, I think, two things. Number one, they remind us of the possibility of the American dream. Elon Musk. Talk about, there's this conception that people on the right hate immigrants. That's not true. We don't like illegal, violent migrants coming through the border, but come here legally, come here and assimilate, come here and contribute to a better, stronger, healthier society. Of course, we're all for that. And to see someone like that come here and innovate and create jobs and not just benefit himself, but humanity, not just the country, but the world. What Elon Musk is doing is a benefit for all of mankind. I mean, isn't that part of the American dream? For others who have literally worked their way up from nothing, rags to riches stories, not, winning the lottery, but actually working hard and making it happen. Doesn't that inspire you? Doesn't that resonate with you? I think that's point number one. Point number two is many of these folks are outcasts from the Democrat Party. Elon Musk, an outcast. RFK Jr., an outcast. I mean, what could have happened was we could have had a very different election. We could have had a unified Democrat Party and then all these different factions, not necessarily on the right, but just factions center right. And what happened was, somewhere along the way, people realized, hey, there's actually more of us when we group together than there are of them. The Democrats have themselves to blame for that. The Democrats have themselves to blame for shunning RFK Jr. They didn't even let him on the news networks. Did you know that? He was banned from mainstream media. And we all know how the mainstream media works in tandem with the Democrat Party. They did this to themselves. Now, similar to them doing it to themselves, Alan Lichtman did this to himself with his model, with just his Trump derangement syndrome and being blind. He could have actually called the election right if he had taken an objective look at the keys and actually followed his own definitions, which are in his book, which, by the way, yes, I do have a digital version of, and there are 3 different versions of it, and I have 2 of them. But again, they talked about whether or not he's going to change his model. No introspection, no self-reflection, no self-awareness at all.
You cannot change a model on the fly based on its failure in one election. The model's been built up over 41 elections. And I get, of course, a slew of well-meaning emails giving me after-the-fact analysis. Now that we know what happened, you've got to change your model in this or some other way, change your short-term economic key to some kind of polling data on what voters feel about the economy. Or
that's actually in your
Trump
book.
is charismatic, even though he clearly doesn't fit the definition of the key, and so on and so forth. I don't think the problem was how the keys have been developed over 160 years.
You might not like him, but if Trump wasn't charismatic, do you really think he would have had a hit TV show for all these years? If he wasn't charismatic, do you really think that before he entered national politics, the paparazzi in Hollywood would have been so obsessed with him that he would have gotten cameos in movies like Home Alone 2? Does that happen to non-charismatic people? I think you have to have a certain level of charisma in order to do that. But because of their Trump derangement syndrome, because of their hatred of his policies that put America first, they can't even see that. And that is really sad. Now, he had the audacity to talk about double standards here because we all know that Democrats truly are the side of double standards.
Donald Trump is multiple impeached, convicted of 34 felonies, civilly convicted of colloquially rape and massive fraud.
Right.
Republicans don't bat an eye.
Exactly.
Biden falters in a debate, and it's the end of the world.
Right. Biden's too old. It's the end of the world. Let's kick him out. Crazy.
Yeah. And not only that, how many examples do we have of Trump being absolutely failing mentally, ranting about Hannibal Lecter, calling Elon Musk Leon, not knowing the name of his doctor, confusing Nikki Haley and Nancy Pelosi, not knowing what city he's in? No problem for Republicans. Who cares?
Anyways, I mean, I don't.
As always, that was taken out of context. A lot of that was just flat out mis and disinformation, just not true. But the audacity to talk about double standards there is because on the right side of the aisle, it's very clear. You know, he talked about the convictions and the charges and blah blah blah, the insurrection. We all saw what happened there. I mean, the E. Jean Carroll case in New York is the easiest example to prove that it was lawfare because they literally rewrote the law. The statutes of limitations had passed, and they rewrote the law so that she could press her case forward. And then, of course, it was tried in a super liberal area. So, of course, Trump got convicted there. And then she goes on, what was it, Harper's Bazaar or some other fashion magazine, and is like, look at this dress I wore when he assaulted me. Turns out, though, the dress wasn't even created, wasn't even in production until years after the alleged incident. There were so many plot holes in her story that anyone looking at it objectively could have seen it was a politically motivated witch hunt. And it was just yet another example of all of these cases that the Democrats have tried to bring against Trump. I mean, so spare me your outrage over double standards. Last but not least, he talked about other forecasters being wrong. Just want to point out and remind y'all, in case anyone forgot, that I called me over here, this unknown wannabe journalist, called every state correct. Just saying.
I called a Harris win, and she didn't win. But I was far, far from the only forecaster to be wrong. Most other models were wrong. 538 forecast, Predict It, the Economist model, the stock market model, the candidate approval model, and many others either had it even or Harris ahead. So it wasn't
But
just...
Mr. Lichtman, Professor Lichtman, I mean, you're Harvard educated, so shouldn't you know this? We're not comparing you to those other models. The reason you've gotten so much scrutiny is because you assured the public. You went on multiple news stations saying that you've never been wrong, that you have a perfect track record, which by the way you don't, and that your model works retroactively. It's never been wrong. According to you, it's always been right. It was impossible for you to be wrong because your method was so sound. That's the difference between you and the other forecasters. None of them, I mean, and that's the thing. The other forecasters, 538, did they get it wrong? Technically, but their models of probability, saying Kamala Harris had, what, a 52% chance of winning to Trump's 48%? I mean, that wasn't saying that she was going to win. It was a probabilistic, is that a word? Model. So, I think there's a big difference. But as always, all of this is my analysis and my commentary. That's what's going on in the world of Alan Lichtman from my point of view, and I would love to hear from you. What do you think about his reaction to being wrong? Do you think it's par for the course? Are you disappointed in him? Are you not surprised because he's, I don't want to call him arrogant because I don't like doing personal attacks, but I think his track record speaks for itself here. It is what it is. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you haven't already, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. I know it's a simple thing to ask for, but it really does help me in the algorithm to reach more viewers like you. Be sure to smash that subscribe button and to check out one of these videos.